Okay, graphing some linear relations. And this is actually a great big part of the next chapter is graphing lines. But there's some calculator skills and some equation skills that we want to make sure we have before we have to use them. Not for real, but in more in other outcomes. So to start off with, I've given us a table with some blanks in it. And I've given you either the x value or the y value. And what we're really asking you to do is to solve equations to find the unknown number. So, for example, I gave you both these numbers. I gave you -1 and -9. If we said x equals -1, what we're really doing is just putting -1 in for the x. So this is the work you would show to prove that your answer is -1 with -9. Instead of going 3 times x, you go 3 times -1. And then we know 3 times -1 is -3, and -6 more is -9. So what you start off with is not always, we generally start off with knowing the x value, and we find the y value. And we show some work for that. And the reason we show work is that later on when the questions get harder, you don't want to start thinking about how did I find that answer on those easy ones. You want to show your work right from the get-go. So if I give you the number 1, I want you to show me that the answer is -3, because if I put 1 into the equation that's given to me, into the linear relation that's given to me, I want to know how I get the number -3. And again, this is, I go 3 times 1 is 3, and 3 minus 6 is -3. So that's why when I put 1 in, I get -3. And we didn't, I could have picked -1, I could have picked 0, I could have picked 2, I could have picked 5, I could have picked a million. I just picked some random numbers, just to kind of show you that the skills that we need to be able to plot points, and then from plotting points, we can draw an equation. So I said, what if you started with x equals 4? Show me some work that's going to help you figure out the other half of the ordered pair if you know the first half. If x is 4, I go 3 times 4, because the rule again was 3 times x. So 3 times 4 is 12, and 12 minus 6 is 6. So if I put 4 in, the other part of the pair is 6. 4 and 6 is going to be on my graph. Something we don't do very often. It's really rare for me to say, what if the y value is 9? But it's not that we can't do it. It's just it's like we're working backwards then. It's kind of saying that's the range value. That's the output. What must have I started with? So that's a good skill, but it's kind of a backward skill. So now instead of putting the x value in, I put the y value in. The y value is 9, so 9 is 3x minus 6. This is what we just did with solving equations. The first thing you do is you add 6 to both sides. If you add 6 to both sides, now you have 15 equals 3x. Divide by 3, and you get x equals 5. So if you have an answer of 9, that means you must have started with 5. Okay, and I want you guys to show the work that gets these numbers. I don't want these just to appear on your page miraculously. There should be, this is a math class, we want you to show the math for this. The ordered pairs is nothing different than you've done before. We had table of values before, we did mapping diagrams, we can do ordered pairs. -1, -9 is an ordered pair. 1 and -3, 1 and -3 is an ordered pair. 4 and 6, 4 and 6 is an ordered pair. 5 and 9, 5 and 9 is an ordered pair. So then I want you to show me that you know how to plot points. Okay, so the table is one skill. If I give you the x value, show me how to find the y value. If I give you the y value, show me how to find the x value. And then we work it out. How do you plot the points? Again, this graph didn't copy very well, but we plotted -1, -9. We plotted 1 with -3. We plotted 4 with 6. And we plotted 5 with 9. We always want to plot 3 points. We don't have to plot 4 points. 2 is not enough. 3 gives you a pattern. And then ideally, you would take your ruler and you would draw a nice straight line through those points. And I can change my color here so it looks really nice. Except for I can't remember how to do that. Properties, I think. Make it red, and away you go. Okay. So that's what you can do. You can graph your line, plot your points, and move on from there. So that's we've already done 3 skills. You show me you can put x in and solve for y. You show me you can take points from a table and make ordered pairs, and you show me you can put points on a graph. I mean, drawing them with a ruler is just drawing them with a ruler. If they don't make a straight line, we've made a mistake somewhere. If your 4 points don't line up, we have done something wrong. So we want to double check that. Okay, because it has to be linear. It has to make a straight line. That's what we're talking about here. We say make sure they make a straight line. Terminology. At the very top of our page, I said I want us to know that you can complete a table of values and plot points. That's what we just did. The next 2 things are some new terminology for us. We want to be able to find where we cross the x-axis. Right? What's the x-intercept? Where you cross the x-axis. And where you cross the x-axis, it has no height. Okay, because again, if you're horizontal and you're on that axis, your height is 0. So that's why the y value is 0 on the x-axis. Where are you on the y-intercept? The x value is 0. So we want to show some work then that helps us figure these things out. If the x-intercept of y equals 3x minus 6, if you put y equals 0 in, this is like going back to the table. If I give you a 0 number for the y value in your table, how do you find the x value? Okay. So you put 0 in for y. So if 0 is the y value, add 6 to both sides, and then divide both sides by 3. So if y is 0, x is 2. What is the ordered pair for that? Ordered pairs are always x before y. So the ordered pair is going to be 2 and 0. So when you talk about some new terminology, finding an x-intercept, finding a y-intercept, these are probably 2 of the most important things that you can understand in math. Where are those points? Those are key points. So 2 and 0 is right up here. 2 and 0. And it has to be on our line because it's part of our relationship. The other skill, the other definition we wanted to talk about today then, is where are you when you cross the y-axis? If you cross the y-axis, we put 0 in for x. So the same as we did in the table, we put 0 in where the x value is, and we work it out. If you're going to plot a point, we're talking about, again, the x value and the y value. If x is 0, y is negative 6. And it's not a guess, right? It's a mathematical calculation. So again, go back to your graph, plot 0 with minus 6. And that's where those points come from. So we only need 3 to draw the line, but we actually have 5 that are on this line, that are on this linear relation. So we should be able to take some time then and look at the second example. And the second example did not graph really well for some reason. But you should be able to find your y values for your given x values, or find your x values for your given y values by showing some work. Okay. So I'm going to go back to the first page. We're going to press pause here for a few minutes, and you're going to work through this page on your own, because I know how to do this. You guys have to be able to do this. Show how you put the x into the expression and solve for the y. Show how you put y into the expression and solve for x. And then show that those are ordered pairs that you can plot. All right, so we're just going to skip back to page 1 and press some pause. More things here. As we kind of wrap things up for the day, on page 3, I didn't give you numbers. You can make up your own numbers. But I gave you examples of using -2 for my x, using 1 for my x, using 3 for my x. You don't have to use those. You can try your own, and you should be able to compare your graph to my graph. So you can pick whatever you want in there. Same idea though, finding intercepts. It's about putting y equals 0 in, putting x equals 0 in. If you want to do that in your table, that'd be a good thing to do because you have to do it later on anyways. Same thing on the last question. I picked my own numbers, -2, 2, and 10. If you want to put 0 in for x and 0 in for y, because I'm going to make you do it later, you can do that in your table right away. Okay, but what I want you guys to do then is I want you to finish these 4 questions, or these other 3 questions. Everybody here, almost everybody here has a graphing calculator. You can do almost all of this on your graphing calculator. Because we have different people with different kind of graphing calculators, you want to go to YouTube videos and find out how do you graph on your calculator. That's something that we want to make sure we know how to do. How do you set a window on your calculator to see the graph you just graphed? How do you put a table of values on your calculator? And how do you find points on your calculator? Play with your calculator a little bit and let's figure some of these things out. Okay, so tonight, try and finish this off. Try and learn how to use your calculator a little bit.